There we go.
Why is this stuff you wanted to be recorded, or
I didn't even know it was Wednesday.
It was a particular Wednesday.
Okay,
yeah, very
so
particular Wednesday is my point.
growing up in a non-religious household, I never encountered Ash Wednesday. The very first time I encountered Ash Wednesday was after I lived in this apartment. And Lex and I, this is way back when Lex and I were dating, Lex and I were sitting at Kimono in Kernersville, and two different groups of people came in with smudges of crap on their forehead and sat one on that side of us and one on that side of us. And I was like, I think we need to get out of here. And she said, what? I was like, do you see this? Like, two groups of like cultists just came in. She's like, it's Ash Wednesday, you idiot. I'm like, I don't know what that means. Like I've heard of Ash Wednesday as I've seen it on the calendar, but she's like, they just came from church. They've got ashes on their forehead. I'm like, do you hear what you're saying? That's cult stuff. She's like, no, it's not. I'm like, just because it's a huge cult doesn't mean it's not a cult. Like, there's people walking around in public with ashes on their forehead, and you're like, oh, it's perfectly normal. Get the hell out. And then she called me an idiot again.
Yeah. Judge Foster took the bench yesterday, and she's like, before anybody says anything about the dirt on my forehead, I'm Catholic. And if you don't know what that means, then I don't care, but don't tell me my forehead is dirty, because I guess somebody passed her on the way in, and they're like, hey, you got a little, and she's like...
Wait, it's a Catholic thing?
It's a Christian thing, but she is Catholic, so... which is a subdivision of Christianity, incorporated.
Anyway, that's just a quick story for the people watching the YouTube video at the very beginning. So here we go. Everybody shut up. Ow, jam. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Manapool. This is another Dorks Just Chatting episode because we could not come up with a topic because nobody ever responds to the text messages. And I lost a day somewhere. I could have sworn that it was Monday and it was Tuesday.
It was.
So I didn't know it was Tuesday. So, yeah, I'm Chewy. I'm the ringleader here, so I'll be the one that faces the charges. I have these other ne'er-do-wells with me. Who are you people?
I'm Brian. I'm the lead Rambler Tangent Master of the group, and I am definitely a ne'er-do-well. I occasionally do well, but I'm not a Dudley do-right. That's for darn sure.
I'm Mike. I'm the rules guy and the game lore guy, and no, I'm not a ne'er-do-well, but at times I am a ne'er-do anything.
Yeah, that's most of the time, I think.
I did something that one time.
He did do that thing that one time. Let's be fair to Mike.
I mean, he actually did it twice. Wait, we're talking about getting married, right?
Yeah.
But I missed both times because I'm a terrible friend.
I got married once. There were 2 events for it.
Okay, we'll go with that, yeah.
And I'm Dirk, the self-proclaimed greenest man alive and moral compass of the group. And I'm more than likely a ne'er-do-well, although I would really like to, at some point, play Nier Automata.
I see what
I could not remember the name of that game. I was trying to crack a joke about something. I don't even remember the context now, but I was like, oh, the game with the android with the blindfold and the upskirt, and whoever I was talking to was like, okay. I'm like, no, damn it. Is it that game where there's an achievement for pointing the camera up the main character's skirt for a certain amount of time? There's some game like that that is a serious game that has that as an achievement. I think it's Near Automata. Anyway, I know way too much about nothing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's a boy robot and a girl robot.
Now I gotta go look it up. Hang on.
But yes, that's not played that.
Chat
It's
seems to confirm your suspicions.
Upskirt. Near Automata. Yep. The trophy's called I Only Did It for the Trophy. Wait, no. In Near Automata, there's a trophy called What Are You Doing? To get it, you have to do this 10 times. And it's... Thank you for the... It's an animated gif of an upskirt of 2B. Thanks, game. Sorry, the I Only Did It for the Trophy is a trophy in Yakuza 0 that I have, because you have to watch porn to get it, and I got that Chivo immediately.
Oh, I'm surprised it's not like I only read it for the articles.
Yeah. No, because it's porn videos.
Mm-hmm.
Ah.
Anyway. So, hello. This
Hi.
is a just chatting episode.
Clearly.
I asked the Discord before we end up on tangents. I asked the Discord, "Hey, we're doing a just chatting episode because we didn't have a topic. Is there anything you guys wanted to talk about?" And I got 2 responses. So, Dorks, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Yes. Yep.
It doesn't matter because you're getting it anyway. So, Mycroft goes, since you asked if it can be interesting, we can make anything interesting because we're stupid. Any dorks have fun things to say about building toys, anywhere from Lego to Gunpla. Gunpla?
Man.
Is that what it's called? Gunpla?
Hmm.
I think I remember a couple
Yeah,
of y'all talking about painting minis, which isn't unrelated. Now, I'm going to kick this off. I give 0 craps about building toys. I had like a little thing of Legos, just assorted Legos when I was a kid. I would make like a car, and that was it. Like, for some reason, my brain doesn't work that way. So, I got nothing.
I'm the opposite end of the spectrum, and now I know some people. Okay, I'm kind of the opposite end of the spectrum in that growing up, I had Legos, and I loved it. And part of it was putting it together with the instructions. That's fine, but then I loved then to combine them and build stuff that wasn't in the instructions. I loved making more and more and more ornate spaceships. I probably played with them long past the age range. I gotta say, I haven't touched them in a while, but I was thrilled when Sam really got into them as she was growing up as well. She's especially loved like the Harry Potter sets, and she's more one to build like the actual instructions. But for me, I just kept building like these more and more ornate like sets, and because I've always been like a fantasy nerd, I would play out kind of in my head, fantasies and stuff like that, and
Right.
castles and whatnot, but also space stuff. You can tell I was definitely into Star Wars because Star Wars is very fantasy in space. Um, but I do caution myself. I know there's bigger Lego nerds out there. Um, my parents actually knew somebody who was she collected them. She's probably twice as old as I am, and she's been collecting Legos for pretty much her whole life, and it's something that gives her joy. So, um, Mike, you sound like you want to say something, so I'm gonna stop talking now because that's pretty much my whole experience.
Oh. I guess I made a sound.
You
Um.
did.
Yeah. So for that, that's interesting because when it came to building stuff, let's see. I do remember having a Tinker toy set when I was very young, and that was interesting. Try to figure out how to make things. Um, but the most common building toy in our house was Legos. It's interesting the big difference between me and my brother. I would get a Lego set and follow the instructions for that Lego set to build the thing, and then it would just stay that way. Um,
Yeah.
and I didn't take it apart, didn't try to rebuild new things. It's just like that's how I would play with Legos. I would just use them to make a toy, and that was the extent of it. Um, but my brother was the one who was always making new and different stuff with his sets. He was very creative with them. Not just taking and rebuilding the sets that he got to make stuff, but just a big bucket of Lego bricks that weren't anything in particular, um, building all kinds of new and different stuff out of that. But then it's funny. A lot of the things he made, he would also keep together instead of breaking down and turning into other stuff. Not everything, but quite a few of them, especially the
So
big ones that he was most impressed with.
he'd hold on to them, and I could see doing that. Like if I ever got like the Lego Death Star or anything like that, I'd be like, no, I'm never touching this. So,
Hmm.
but I don't think I ever had anything quite that ornate. But I'm definitely with your brother on putting them to. I would build the original model and then take it apart and build something new. Wow, moment of self-realization, just like what I do with magic decks.
Exactly.
Do you think I have a problem?
I mean, several, but we don't have all night.
No, we don't. Let's talk about Dirk's problems.
Mm. Um, I'm sort of on the Brian side of it. I used to love getting the Lego stuff, and not only would I build the Lego sets, but I also played with them very much so. Um, the house I grew up in had a basement that, for the most part, was just it was kind of like just a giant play area, and so there would be nights versus like the old school medieval Lego sets
Hmm.
that weren't themed. They weren't like Harry Potter themed or Star Wars. It was just knights. And then they did the pirates one that had like the red coat colonials, and then the pirates would come.
Right.
I had those, and they would, occasionally cross faction. The the redcoats would defend the castle from pirates, or you know at that time it was the creepy crawler stuff that had like the oven that you could make the little bugs, like they were fighting bugs. And because I was into Final Fantasy and Legend of Zelda at the time, I would build Kakariko Village out of like books, and then Legos. Little characters had their houses that they lived in, and so I used to do all kinds of stuff with the Legos.
Damn. Dirk was
um,
awesome.
Yeah.
oh, I mean,
What happened to him?
there were times when my brother would come down and start messing with stuff and be like, "No, go away. You are in my area. I'm doing my thing. Go away." And then all this also included Lincoln Logs, and it was it's the Connects. They were there. I was
Yeah.
watching Exo Squad, and so I would build the human fleet out of
Exo
Connects.
Squad. Oh, I loved that
Yeah.
show. At least for the first season. It went off the rails in the second one.
Second season, I mean, there were good parts, but I mean, it felt like it was like 5 times longer than the original season was.
Yeah, they
Um,
lost their focus.
a little bit. Um, but
Okay,
then we did
we'll
that,
circle
and
back to
then
that.
yeah.
Stick to the
Um,
Legos.
in college, I kind of got into building the BattleTech figures
Hmm.
that were out of the die-cast metal ones. I also did some of the Gunpla, but it wasn't like the big elaborate ones. And they were all from Endless Waltz, because that was what the main Gundam series that was out at the time that I
Right.
really got into. So I mean, there was the original Gundam Wing Gunpla, but the Endless Waltz ones I thought were the coolest of the versions. And so I had the Wing Zero and the Sandrock. And I think I also had Death Scythe. I did they were just the like 10-inch.
Yeah.
versions. So I mean, they weren't like they were, I think, maybe like $20 uh, at most for the gunpla kits. But those are the ones I made. So that was the extent of mine. But like, I still have the diecast BattleTech figures up there. I find it interesting that they've gone to, like, they just print them articulated and they just put them in like lance sets now. But back in the day, you could just buy the individual mechs you wanted, and then you would have to glue them into their articulated poses that you want. And some of those were beasts to get them to stand with the way you wanted, just because they were so top heavy
Uh-huh.
that this is the cool pose, and then you would put it on the base, and it would just instantly crumble because of the how heavy the top half of it was. And I guess I just hadn't let it. I wanted to make sure it stood flat before it solidified, but to do that, you have to kind of hold it in place and be like, "Don't breathe, don't move, don't do anything until the glue solidifies." And then you would be like, "Okay, did it do it?" And it would just collapse, and you just say a lot of bad words. So yeah.
Say, I'm fairly certain that I remember hearing Dirk go, ah, once.
Yes. So yeah, Legos, Connects, BattleTech, Gunpla. Trying to think, and I have tons of Lego stuff. The problem is I've kind of aged out where I can play with it, and my parents gave me all the Lego stuff. My brother wanted it, but because he has no kids and he's uh doesn't have the time to do anything, I was like, oh well, they're just gonna go to waste. So I was like, I want all of them so the kids can play with them, and the kids played with them, but they ended up leaving a lot of messes. And like, uh, I always wanted to clean up stuff because if I was gonna build something, I needed the pieces.
Right?
And my kids have this tendency of, I have Legos on the floor. Mommy said clean them up, so they just sort of shoved them underneath the bed. So it was finally decided that they needed to have some time away from Legos until they
Yeah.
could, have a better appreciation of them and actually want to play with them, instead of just, here's some toys you can play with, and then being like, okay. So I have all my Star Wars Lego stuff. They're built, they're sitting on shelves in display. I've got several Star Wars kits sitting on shelves that have not been opened, but they're on display to be like, this is what's inside this box. Chelsea has the Harry Potter castle that has not been opened because we don't have a place to put the assembled castle. I have the Imperial Star Destroyer that's like the big one. It's
Hmm.
half assembled because I got tired of pieces falling off of it. Like when they would be sitting, okay, this is here, let me connect this part. And then a piece that was held by gravity, like held in place, gravity would take over and would drop the piece, which would then cause other things to fall off. And I finally got so mad at doing it that I just stopped building it at some point. And it has been half assembled for over a year at this point. Like, I cannot take this thing apart because I
Uh-huh.
I would just, if I did, I would just throw it away. But at the same time, I don't have the motivation to finish it. So it's essentially just sitting half assembled right now, staring at me in a form of, you know, at some point I will build you, and I will put you together, and you will be on display somewhere, but sort of as a monument to my, you know, like the disinterest in a building something that has already caused me so much frustration. So that's mine.
That's fair. Yeah,
Uh,
I don't know what it
I know we were
is.
gonna circle back to the whole exoskeletal thing,
No.
but and maybe we'll come back to that, maybe we won't. But I just
We
wanted to say
will,
real
but
quick, we will, but real quick.
I
Oh
will stab
shoot,
you.
I know. Dirk said something, and I was like, "Oh, I'm gonna throw 2 seconds of something in there," and he kept going, which is great. The fact that I can actually be stopped from butting in on somebody, I gotta say, good job, Dirk. Teach that to Mike. But I forgot what it, and I was hoping I'd remember what it was while I was doing this, and I've forgotten. So, should we keep going? I'll remember in like 5 minutes. I'll just blurt it out.
Fair enough. Yeah, I don't. Going back to
Ooh,
me, I don't know what it is, but like that part of creativity has never interested me. Like
Hmm.
building things, or I never got into drawing things. Whenever like in elementary school, they'd be like, "Oh, draw." I'd be like, "Do I have to?" Like music, no, no interest in playing music. Thanks. I always was looking, which is funny because now I entertain people as part of my job, but like I was always just looking for new
Right.
ways to make people laugh rather than new ways to create things or draw things or any of that crap. Like it's not me. I had
Well,
like a fake off-brand light bright. I I used it like 3 times and it was like, all right, this is dumb. uh,
I very much remembered one time that Dad had to take me to his work, and it was this big meeting he had to be in for like 3 hours, and he was so afraid that I would like tear apart his office. And I mean, I had to have been like between 6 and 8. No, we were in North Carolina then, so I had to be about between 8 and 9. And um, all I said is I just want paper, like printer paper and a pencil. And I entertained myself for 3 hours. Um, what I would do is I'd like to draw like military airplanes and tanks and I would just draw out battles happening on the paper.
Hmm.
And I would literally do like, I mean, I killed 3 hours just drawing battle scenes and havoc on this paper, and then tracing pictures that I liked. I was really into military aircraft because Dad worked for the IAM, the International Association of Machinists, and he had like airplanes like 747s and 757s and 777s, and so he had pictures of those. And I was into that and military airplanes like the A-10 Warthog, and I would trace them and then somehow like incorporate them into my pictures. And I mean, I could kill hours of my time just drawing, doodling, and doing all that. But I was in no way an artist. Like I could never have drawn like a flower or a landscape or anything like that. Mine was always, you know, freehand doodling, making little airplanes and all that.
Hmm. My brother would do stuff like that a lot too. He would draw like different characters. All the characters had some kind of theme to them. Um, well, most of them. After a while, after a while, I could tell like he was feeling a little stretched for new ideas as to what to what to draw a new person based off of. He had this giant because there'd be a guy who was a bull and a guy who was made out of fire and a guy who was made out of clocks and a guy who was made out of water and a guy who was a bird and this, that, and the other thing. And there was a certain point where I could tell he was getting a little exasperated trying to come up with new ideas for these guys.
I, as a kid, loved Mega Man, and in my free time, I would try to think up
Mm,
new Mega Man bosses.
Mm-hmm.
But there's so I realize there's a whole wealth
Yeah,
of
he did say
things out
that
there,
too.
but I did feel like the well was running a bit dry when Capcom's Tomahawk Man is looking original compared to some of mine. That's when maybe you're like, yeah.
Yeah, well, that was one of my friends. He used to draw pictures of them, and that was sort of our thing was, what would be a Mega Man villain? And you'd come up with like some of them were just awful, like a brick man guy who throws bricks, and then
Ev-
there
Yeah, I love
was
e-
Brickman.
e- Everybody
there's
has made a
there
brick
was
man. Come on.
because you couldn't be like Fireman and Iceman. You were kind of like chairman, and he rolls around in a chair. I mean, there was just times when we would be like, oh, let's come up with this. What would this look like? And we would kind of doodle out really awful sketches of what they would look like.
Man.
Yeah, there were, and you'd be like, I'm gonna do Fat Man, and it would just be like a really fat dude, and just like, what does he do? He jumps and tries to land on you. That's how he attacks you. It's like he doesn't throw anything at you. He just tries to like run at you and like squish you against the wall or something. That's his attacks. What would Mega
Dude,
Man's power be? I don't know.
if
Maybe it makes Mega Man sprite really big. That'd be cool.
if
There you go.
imagine if the original uh Mega Man wasn't made and the naming conventions of, 2 through 6 uh happened, and then they tried to make a Guts Man.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Well, that was when it was like Guts Man. You're just going. I don't know what to do with that.
Oh, he's really strong. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would have an intestine whip, but that's just me.
Ugh. First time I ever saw the film Akira, I
Mm-hmm.
was not feeling well that day. I was like, let me
That's a
put
Guts
on some.
Man.
I,
Yep.
I was not feeling well, and then I
Then
was
it got
doing.
worse.
It got worse. Like I was already a little feverish. I'd taken some medicine. I was doing okay, and then got to the scene where Tetsuo is having he's having a vision or a hallucination, and in the hallucination his stomach rips open and he's like trying to keep his intestines from like falling out, and I like got really lightheaded and I almost lost it right there. And even thinking about it now, I'm like I can think about it, but
It just puts you
whew,
back in that moment.
yeah, yeah. They say that the human brain, as evolved or not as it is, when you think of a traumatic experience, and we've all had them, you're probably doing it right now. You're in your mind, your primitive brain is actually putting you back in that situation, that fight or
Hmm.
flight situation.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah. I went to a CLE or a continuing legal education, and one of the speakers was talking about
Damn it.
mindfulness, and she talked about how your brain works and how it's difficult for us, even when we're aware of those situations, to overcome our own biology,
Yeah.
typical biology. So,
I
So
have that same issue.
going
Anytime that I think about watching Beauty and the Beast, it reminds me of when I saw it in theaters and then got sick that night.
Hmm.
It was from eating too many pistachio nuts.
I
But
love you,
it's
Judge.
but unfortunately, that's the thing that my brain associates anytime I watch Beauty and the Beast and go, yeah, I remember this movie. I remember it that I got sick the night that I watched it
yeah,
in theaters. So, but it's one of those things like I enjoy the movie, but but in the back of my head, I'm going, but it made me sick. The pistachio nuts made me sick, but I'm gonna also blame it on the movie.
Ben said he has that experience with Lord of the Rings. He was reading it on the bus when he was a kid and had the flu and threw up. So reading Lord of the Rings makes me nauseous. Didn't actually finish it until I got the audiobooks. Huh.
Oh, jeez.
Anyway, so circling back again to the miniature painting, that's again, I don't have the fine dexterity to do that sort of thing, but Renee has told me that a guy she used to date played Warhammer. There we go.
Warhammer, Mutant Chronicles. Okay, Warhammer.
And I think she used to paint his models or something like that or something.
Neat.
And they were like, dude, you should like paint these and sell them because you're a hot chick, and you know, nerds who play Warhammer will happily buy miniatures that were painted by a hot chick. Her name was like, okay.
I know a couple people in real life who got good enough at painting that they were able to make a little bit of money on the side from other people they knew who played.
Yeah. Yeah, like Warhammer people, at least for the miniatures, fall into two camps from what I understand. It's the people who want to like get the figures and paint them and playing is whatever, and then there's the people who want to play but don't give a crap about the painting.
Yeah.
And then there's the lucky ones who enjoy both, but
And then there's the people who just like, I'll just buy. Oh, I like that. Like the people, yeah, like I said, the people who sell it, they're just like, I want that, and make some money on the side.
yeah. I just wanted to brag that Renee was a hot chick.
Still was.
What? I didn't say what. Did I say was?
You said was.
That's awkward.
Is. You were bragging that
I was bragging.
You said you
that
wanted
Renee am
to.
hot.
Okay.
Am
good.
be hot.
My English major brain, even though it's been 20 years, is screaming at you inside.
You are welcome, brain. So I think that covers that pretty well. The other thing that was brought up in the Discord was
Exoskeletons.
was by Ben, who happens to be here. And I can't find the Discord. There it is. And he said, love to hear what cartoons you guys think should be brought back for a good run. He'd like to see Gargoyles back, and he thinks that could be an interesting topic. M.A.S.K. Straight up. M.A.S.K.
I never
had
saw him.
the best theme song of any 80s cartoon. Fight me, I'm right.
I don't know. C.O.P.S was really good.
Oh, yeah, C.O.P.S was really good. You're right.
C.O.P.S would look really different in today's environment, though. So
they were fighting crime in a future time.
Future time. Yeah, good
but
old.
no, not
the main
the
character.
M.A.S.K. The M.A.S.K. didn't come out until I was already mostly grown. So yeah, M.A.S.K. The '80s cartoon.
Yeah, I never saw it. I heard about it.
I was so jealous of my friends who had M.A.S.K. toys. They were so awesome.
Because they're so awesome. I
Did
had
you guys
the big truck that could fire missiles and stuff, and I had the little motorcycle that turned into a little helicopter, a little motorcycle with a helicopter blade on the top, and that was it. But those were both really cool.
Yeah, I think I had one very simple vehicle and figure set, and I had a coloring book that I really loved.
So I will say, I'm kind of looking back, and before we dive into like too many individual ones, there are some people that feel like, oh, the cartoons peaked in the 80s and 90s. And I don't know, because again, I know we talked about this a little bit before, DuckTales was pretty good, but the 2017 DuckTales is just better, fight me. So I do think kids these days, between that, what's that?
I said, I don't think that's a fight. I think that's just pretty agreed upon.
Yeah, but there
it's
are people
one that it's kind of one of the ones that I think Ben is asking about, that, you know, old cartoons that should be brought back and everything. And DuckTales is an example of
of
that
one.
happening and it being
Yes.
really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So where I'm going with that, and I realized that I didn't finish it, is that yes, they do have some really good ones these days, like DuckTales, Castlevania, She-Ra on Netflix, Voltron on Netflix was pretty well, though it
Which
varied
is
from
gone
season to
now.
season. Voltron isn't on Netflix.
Yeah, the license or something ran out, so it's just not anywhere anymore.
Huh, that's too bad.
Really?
Yeah.
Um, but but I will say there were some really good ones back in the 80s and 90s, and some of the ones that I really liked, the Mothers Against Violence in cartoons or whatever was a real force, but some of these shows actually tackled some more mature themes, which I appreciate. And I'm gonna go back to, was it Exosuits?
Exo
Uh,
Exo-Squad.
Squad.
Exo Squad, thank you. I mean, the whole premise of that show is that mankind is so developed we've created essentially clones, but they are clones not of a particular person. They're basically manufactured people. They're stronger than us because they're built for manual labor. And then we
So
put
essentially,
them.
they were slaves and treated as second-class
Oh,
citizens.
absolutely. And we put them to work on Mars and I think other planets, but that was the one that I remember featured heavily in the series. And at some point, they rose up and struck back into the humans. And looking back at it now, that's a very there's shades of gray to a lot of that about, like, treating
Hmm.
people with dignity, what makes a man, and I say a human being, that one of those genetically created um individuals was on the squad, and they treated him with respect and other people didn't. So, and it was a question of, why are you fighting like this? So they tackled some kind of mature themes, which I appreciate.
They also
um
tackled the question of genocide and stuff like that.
yeah.
But kind of like how Planet of the Apes, where it was, uh, we're going to treat you like garbage because you can't talk and you can't make choice and all that. It was sort of the same thing, but they flipped it because the Neo Sapiens had risen up and had toppled the human government, and they were the ones who were now sending the humans to these camps
Ah.
and doing all this. So it flipped the narrative
Yeah.
Are we
where
still
it
You'll
was
talking
have to.
about Exo Squad?
Hmm.
Yeah.
Holy crap.
oh, this was a very dark show for like a kid show, but it tackled, like Brian's saying, it tackled them head on, but like in an actiony, sci-fi kind of way. But I
Yeah.
mean, it was a cartoon series that ran.
Yeah.
I got to watch it early morning because that's when it was on. They did not play it on Saturdays.
I don't remember. And I appreciate Dirk remembering more about the plot than I did. It's been a good probably 30 years since I saw it. I forgot that the Neo Sapiens had actually overthrown the humans. I just knew that they were fighting
Hmm.
against their human oppressors. So,
Yeah.
yeah, good on that, Dirk. Um,
I
Chewie,
could
did
give you
you?
the whole rundown, but I'm not going to.
Well, and the
Thank you.
suits were awesome. So, yeah,
Yeah,
like
I had
that.
some
I
toys of that.
I
Those were cool.
I kind of branching these two together. I know Dirk kind of already touched on this, but yeah, I would totally build exosuits out of Legos. Totally.
Hmm.
So,
I built Mega Man out of Legos. You just had to have a certain types of pieces, and I used to build like Mega Man X had come out, and
mhm.
I was building Zero and an X and all that out of Legos too.
But going back to the topic that Ben suggested, I'm trying to think of another cartoon. So we've talked about Captain N because we've talked about representation of video games, and we've all said, yeah, this was not looking back on it. I loved it, but it's what we had. It was like one of the only shows that actually went into video games, and they had the Nintendo license, so they could do that. But man, so, like, if you went in and you're like, I know anything about Mega Man or Castlevania, then the representations would probably drive you up the wall.
Yeah.
So I feel like something like that could be revisited. And yes, it would be campy, but that's part of the fun. And I think not every cartoon has to be super dark serious. I think you could do I, it is the classic trope. I mean, didn't Mark Twain write a somebody in King Arthur's Court, which was a Yankee in King Arthur's Court,
Yankee
A
and
or
King
Connecticut
Arthur's
Yankee in
Court.
King Arthur's Court.
a
Yeah.
Connecticut Yankee?
And a Yankee,
So,
there you go.
so the whole, oh, I've been isekai'd into another world, whether or not I've died in the original one or I've just been sucked through a time portal, I'm a fish out of water. That is a tale literally as old as time. One caveman was probably like, "Hey, what if I went back to yesterday?" But so you've had this idea forever, but now you could throw in all sorts of new stuff too. So I I kind of like the thought of like a Captain N-esque thing.
I could actually see that, but again, make it less campy and be like, well, like Simon Belmont is, he's trying to stop something from happening, and Mega Man ends up coming into it, and so you kind of have like an Avengers ish sort of thing where these guys from these different universes come together and they're able to help each other and play off each other, and everything. But again, have the group dynamic of that they have their own quirks and they have their own drama and um, traumas that they're having to overcome that lead them to not being able to fully follow through on um, what the quests or the tasks they're being given, and so it causes additional drama. I mean, I could see a little bit of that.
See, for me, I see where you're going, but I don't want it to
Kind
get
of feel like
super
it could be
serious. You
like
use the
how the
word
Voltron stuff did.
you reference the word trauma, and I'm like, okay, like again, I'm trying to keep it like more lighthearted. But hey,
I mean,
we'll
it
shop
could,
it
yeah.
around. We'll see what the studio wants us to do, and we'll to sell more units, and then we'll probably end up doing whatever they want to do, especially if it's Hasbro, right? So,
Hmm.
but you got to be at least a little campy in an idea where where the main idea is kid gets sucked into a video game nexus.
Hmm.
Chewy, what do you want to see come back?
M.A.S.K.
All right.
M.A.S.K. Okay, so for those that don't know, M.A.S.K. is like there's the group of good guys and the group of bad guys. M.A.S.K. and Venom in this case. I think wasn't it Venom? I
Yeah.
think it was Venom.
Hmm.
And everything had like a hidden form, like your motorcycle. You put on your. They use these really trippy looking masks because toyetic marketing, to control their fancy car. Like the car with the gull wing doors could fly.
Yeah.
Put up the gull wing doors and now it can fly. I don't know how. Shut up. Why are you? It's a cartoon. But they all had really cool masks, and each of the masks, if I remember correctly, had some sort of like special attack power that it could do, and
Right.
it could also control their fancy vehicles. So I mean, it's toyetic as all hell. Like it's GI Joe combined with Transformers, as Ben just said in the chat. Yeah, pretty much. And I loved it, and I think that the concept is actually good enough to come back and be really cool and sell more toys. But I really wish that they would not do this sort of thing just to sell toys. Like, did you guys ever see the Thundercats reboot?
Yeah.
It was really good, but it didn't sell enough toys, so it just stopped before anything ever happened. Like the cartoon series.
Hmm.
Like they just cut it off before anything was resolved. They were like, "Well, it's done now," and all of the Thundercats fans were like, "Yeah, but," because it was really good.
I mean, so many things were done to sell toys, from He-Man to even. Okay, this is going back a bit. So you guys remember Ghostbusters with Bill Murray and all those people, and I
Hmm.
asked for a Ghostbusters toy for Christmas, and I got something that I was not expecting. It was like
Oh God, did you
two
get the Filmation
guys.
Ghostbusters?
You got the
I
other
did. I got the
Ghostbusters.
car. I got the car with the Filmation Ghostbusters, and I'm like, what is this even from? And this was before the internet. So I was so confused until I found an ad for it on TV, and I started watching. I'm like, hey, this is kind of cool. Um, and apparently, like that one actually came first, and it was based
Hmm.
off of an old live
It was an
action
old live
TV
action
show.
thing of a dude in a gorilla suit. It was really cheesy
Yeah,
and awful. And then the movie happened. The Ghostbusters movie happened, and to capitalize on the name, they like rushed out a Ghostbusters cartoon. So when they wanted to make a based on the movie Ghostbusters cartoon, and they couldn't get the rights for the cartoon, they just called it the real Ghostbusters, even though
yeah.
the other one came first. These are
Which
the real
became like the
Ghostbusters because no one
original
cared about the
Ghostbusters.
animated monkey. Like,
Yeah, that poor monkey, man. So, so I don't know that either of those need to come back, just in the context of the conversation. But I didn't know if you guys knew about the old one. There is a YouTube channel,
there
and there
is. Sorry.
there are many,
I
and
think I
this
saw
one,
one of those the other day.
and their thing seems to be. I'm sure they do other things, but they do the history of some old cartoons and
Are
like,
you talking
you
about
know,
Secret Galaxy?
I am.
I was thinking Toy Galaxy, but
Well, they changed the name.
oh, okay.
Uh, but like I at one point, this was a while ago. I was like, hey, I remember that old show, Jason the Wheeled Warriors, and I just, put into YouTube to see if I could find episodes, and they did this review of it, and they went all into the troubled history where apparently the company didn't want to give the artists any credit, and the artists were like, no. And that was also back in the day. Keep in mind, like Jason the Wheeled Warriors was one season and it was 40 episodes. So these shows back then were they were heavy investments. On a related note, for a show I'd like to see come back, Jason the Wheeled Warriors, which may have had a better intro song, or at least the beat, than Mask.
You go to hell.
I know.
Also, the episode of Secret Galaxy that went up today is the failure of Brave Star and the downfall of Filmation.
Oh, shoot, I gotta watch that then.
Yeah. They did an
But
episode
they,
on
but they,
cops, I think last week or the week before.
I think I saw that one. They did Jace, and they actually did cover like the different versions of He-Man that have come out over the years and stuff like that. I still have not seen the Netflix He-Man. I guess I better watch that before they decide to just not show it
Sorry,
anymore. Because I was looking
it was a
forward to
month
it.
ago that the cops episode was.
Okay.
This
I
week's
think
was
I,
Brave Star. Last week's was Pro Stars with Jordan Gretzky and Bo Jackson. You remember that?
Yeah.
Yes.
Before that, they did the history of the Mighty Orbots, which I recognize the name, but I do not recognize these cartoon characters at all.
Yeah. That's
I
not
don't know
ringing a
more
bell.
bots.
But yeah,
I think I had a
it's a
Brave
good show. I
Star
highly recommend this
town
channel.
place.
What was that, Mike? I'm sorry, I talked over you.
I think I had a Brave Star like town play set that that my mom found at a thrift store or something, and I had almost all of the parts to it. That was the amazing thing, and she found it really cheap. That was really neat to tinker with. Yeah, there are so many things because the age difference between me and you all, right now it's for nothing. But for the period of time that you all have been talking about, it's a big enough age difference that there was a big developmental difference between me and you all. So I only have vague memories of some of these things, even though I know I watched them. And I might even had a few toys. Like I'm aware of, Brave Star and M.A.S.K and GoBots and Tiger Sharks and a number of other
Smurfs.
things. Smurfs, but
Ugh.
it's like I only barely remember what they were like on television because I was just so much younger than you all in my
Yeah, I mean,
memory
what
and
were
ability.
what year were you born, Mike?
I was born in 1984.
That's 3 years after me, and I was born at the end of '81, so you're not that
And
much. But
I was
hey, I
born at
mean,
the
But at
end of
that
the
age, it
80s.
makes a difference.
it does. When I was in high school, Pokemon came out, and I definitely felt older. And I was intrigued by Pokemon and Digimon, although the naming convention for Digimon, ugh, everything ends in Mon. Like,
Hmm.
yeah.
Praise Jamon. I'm sorry, that was different.
So,
Random Keho just said, "You guys are all young." Tell that to my back.
yeah.
I I can't think of any particular show because a lot of the shows that I watched, I
Have come
don't
back.
think there's any way they could come back. Because I used to watch Transformers, and unfortunately, the the movies have ruined any interest I've had of that show ever coming back.
Mm.
Wait, the Transformers
Um,
cartoon has come
People
back
could try again. Yeah,
like a dozen times. There might
yeah.
be one running
yeah.
right now.
No, yeah,
There
you're
could
right. I
be.
mean, they've but not in different formats and like Beast Wars. I watched Beast Wars. I thought was really good.
Hmm.
Um, then there was like GI Joe,
I was gonna
but I
ask
remember
you
like the
guys.
old school, like the not not the ones where they were like, we're only gonna have a cast of like 6 guys, and they're gonna do that. Like I remember the whole purpose of the original was we're going to introduce a character every time and he's going to have the spotlight so that way we can sell their toys.
Well, yeah.
So I mean you
Again,
ended up with gigantic numbers of dudes who would make like cameos in other people's episodes, but they only got like one episode that focused on them solely.
and then they're a background character if they show up at all.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
And
And
unless they're
again,
like one of the main, like again there were certain ones that they would show up a lot because they were sort of the inner circle main cast, but they brought in so many of these extra characters with the main purpose being like we're gonna sell
yeah.
as many of them
Um,
as we can. They can't do that nowadays.
watch Secret Galaxy sometime because so many cartoons from the 80s and 90s.
Fell into
The
that. Yes, I
the
know.
the show was a vehicle to sell toys.
Yes.
But I'm glad you mentioned GI Joe. I haven't. I watched it as a kid. Haven't seen it forever. There's some that I've like seen the episode. Some of these shows we're talking about. I've seen the odd episode here and there, and I'm like, did that hold up? Wow, I was a dumb kid. But I haven't seen GI Joe in forever. Do you think that GI Joe could come back? Do you think there's a way to do that in this day and age where if it was given a Netflix treatment or a Disney Plus treatment, Bluey is awesome, by the way, another new show. Bluey is great. So, do you think they could do it? And do you think there'd be, I don't know, is this one of these ones where the target audience is now 35 to 55 years old? Oh, I did not. Ben mentioned that G.I. Joe comics have been going along just fine. I did not know
Oh
Hmm.
that.
yeah,
I
there all kinds of old '80s things have comics. Like Ben mentioned earlier, that GI Joe and Transformers and Mask are all in an interconnected universe.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Is Spawn still going?
Who
Probably not.
cares?
In its own
Yeah.
universe.
Is Spawn still going?
Why?
Let's see. 2 years ago, someone asked. 2 years ago, someone asked on Reddit, and they were like, "Yeah, the 300th issue came out not long ago." I have no idea if it's still going.
Hmm.
Anyway,
It'd be possible to do another G.I. Joe, it'd be tricky to find the right approach
And yes, it is still good.
Yeah.
for a war combat thing.
I mean, considering it's sort of like Cops. Like, Cops was a cool show, but nowadays I wouldn't want kids watching a show that glorifies police that much. Just like G.I. Joe was all about the military, and that's not good these days either. I mean, it wasn't good then, but now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Huh?
Yo,
I was
Joe.
really hoping
I
someone would pull that.
25%
Yeah.
blue lasers, 25% red lasers.
And
50%
nobody ever
knowing.
gets hit or dies.
And knowing
Everyone.
But the machines
Everyone-
go down all the time, but no one dies.
Oh, sure. Every time a plane gets shot, you will always see somebody on a parachute. All the
Mhm.
time.
But that's also why the Cobra people had an army of androids.
Yeah.
Oh, sure. Because you can be violent to robots.
Oh yeah, you can blow them up all day long. That's why the Ninja Turtles, the
Foot
cartoon
Clan,
of that, like
yeah.
the OG one, all the foot soldiers were androids.
Yep. That's another one I wouldn't mind seeing coming back, but once again, there
It
have been like 5 iterations of, or 5 versions of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles since
And a
then.
bunch of them, from what I understand, are really good.
That's what I've heard too. There was an animated special put out a couple of years ago called Turtles Forever, where it had turtles from
That was a
some
lot
of the
of years
series getting together through a rift in time and or whatever, and they even go to the original like black and white turtles.
ago. Hey, Brian,
Yeah,
you want to know something that'll really make you feel bad?
it came out like the day I was born or something, right?
Yeah,
didn't
it came out in 2009.
9, not even.
I think there
2010.
have been like 3 more iterations of the show since then.
That means it came out before my daughter was born.
Yeah.
The one
I
who-
just tracked
who-
it down and watched it, I don't know, 3 or 4 years ago, and it is really good.
It was really good. I enjoyed it. So, yeah, and I enjoy the different takes on the turtles. So, I don't know that I need the original one to come back because I like seeing some of these different versions.
Well, I don't think necessarily he meant the exact show we
Just
used
a
to watch
strict.
come back.
That's true. That's true. So,
Like, see, my problem is all the shows that I would want to come back, I think I already have.
mhm.
Like,
I-
I was a huge He-Man kid. Like,
and He-Man's come back how many times?
yeah,
At
He-Man,
4?
the
Twice.
Cartoon Network reboot from the early 2000s was brilliant. I loved it. Like, that's what He-Man to my young kid brain, that's what He-Man was. Except this was actually that instead of just my young kid brain distorting the memory. And then I actually haven't watched the newest Netflix thing for He-Man. I watched Revelation, but I haven't watched Revolution, which I feel
I
bad
haven't
about.
seen either of them yet.
But Revelations was perfect. Like, all the people bitching about it were just wrong and stupid. And yeah, I said it, and if that means you, sorry you were wrong and stupid. Like, I saw Prilliman complaining about it on Facebook. I was like, are you just looking to piss people off? And he was like, I mean, maybe. I was like, yeah, that sounds like Prilliman, actually, yeah.
I'm trying to think of an 80s cartoon
So-
that I saw that hasn't been remade in some form, except for Captain N. Go ahead, Dirk.
One that I don't know if I want it to be remade. Was Batman the Animated Series.
You do not.
No, I think no.
No.
Not to
'Cause I
mention
think
they
that could not be redone
No.
no.
any better than it was originally.
And
No,
Dirk,
it could
I'm
not.
almost afraid you're gonna give them ideas because at some point you know they're gonna tap that
Well, the problem,
resource.
I
yeah,
mean,
well,
Batman's had like 3 or 4 other shows since then that were fun.
Batman,
and
the Brave and the
people
Bold?
who
Yeah.
were of the appropriate age for them loved them. Like, I'm actually got sick of people telling me how great the Batman was. I'm like, I don't care. I'm not gonna watch it. I don't have time.
It was pretty good. I saw a couple episodes. Yeah, they've done a couple, but remaking that, no, that just leave that alone. Just
Yeah.
back away.
Well,
Just back
the
away.
one thing was you had all these really good superheroes that were really good standalone, and then they decided that they were like, well, we're gonna combine them up. So like Batman, the animated series ran for forever, and then Superman had his own that ran for forever, and then they decided
To
to do Justice League and all
Justice
that.
League was brilliant, and then there was Justice League Unlimited, which was even better. I never watched Superman though.
Superman
I've heard that it
wasn't
was
that
good.
bad.
I just never.
So okay, maybe you
Ooh.
guys saw this one. I don't remember the name of it, but there was one where good guys were fighting bad guys,
What?
as they do, and they got sent back in time to like the age of the dinosaurs, and the good guys like lived with the dinosaurs. Dino Riders.
There you go.
There we go. I remember getting the Tyrannosaurus Rex toy and not even really caring a whole lot about the show. I just wanted a T-Rex that had like cybernetic armor that you could take on or put off. And it was kind of cumbersome, so most of the time I just played with it as the T-Rex. And then I think that was the T-Rex that Robin Williams was playing around with in Mrs. Doubtfire when he like is playing around on the set by himself and the executive sees him and is like, "Hey, you should run a show." I think it was that T-Rex toy.
That's pretty funny.
That's how much that memory's lodged in my head.
Ooh,
But
I got
mean,
one.
again, go ahead.
Oh no, sorry. Finish your thought.
I was just gonna say, also kind of a timeless story. You know, future forces go back in time or forward in time and encounter, things that are very alien to them, and kind of adapt to that. Plus, who doesn't love dinosaurs? Like every kid, my interests as a kid went dinosaurs, then Greek mythology, and then probably ninjas, in that order. What were you gonna say?
Okay, you guys know the Justice League and the Avengers?
Yes.
What if I told you
Those.
there was a cartoon that did that, but with pulp heroes from like the 30s?
So, like the
Is that
League of
Dick
Extraordinary
Tracy?
Gentlemen?
Like the League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, but not that far back.
Okay.
Defenders of the Earth
I've
had.
never heard of this.
You never heard? Oh, dude! Defenders of the Earth was another awesome theme song. But it was Flash Gordon, Mandrake the Magician, the Phantom, the guy in the purple suit, and
Yeah, the one who knows what shadows lurking. No, that's
the Shadow. Yeah.
Sorry. Yeah, keep going. The Phantom.
And what was it? Lothor? Something like that. And they went up against a not racist because he was alien, Ming the Merciless. But these were all like big, like pulp heroes from back in the day.
Yeah.
Let's see here. Yeah, the comic strips distributed by King Features Syndicate. Flash Gordon, the Phantom, and Mandrake the Magician, and Mandrake's assistant Lothar. There we go. And then they also had like the kids of each of them. So Flash Gordon's son, Lothar's son, the adopted son of Mandrake, and the daughter of the Phantom. So there were the kids in there. So because it was a kids cartoon.
Yeah. New generation, all that.
That was awesome because I'd heard of Flash Gordon because of Queen, but I'd heard of Flash Gordon and the Phantom, I think, for some reason, or the parents might have explained it to me while I was like, "Hey, you guys see this cartoon?" And they're like, "Oh, that's Flash Gordon and the Phantom," or something like that. But yeah, it was like like an early day Avengers where these individual characters come together on a team and fight bad guys and stuff. And it was cool as balls. And had another kick ass theme song. Defenders of the Earth, Defenders. Dunna. It was good stuff. Anyway,
Sweet.
Chewie, you had mentioned earlier about
did not.
a cartoon that never got closure. Those are some of the things that stick out in my mind for something that needs to come back, if only just to finish the story. Like, I remember there was a Conan the Adventurer cartoon
Yes.
Mhm.
that I really enjoyed, but the cartoon ended before the story ended. It's just, and there was the Pirates of Dark Water.
I was about to say, I think it
One
was
I
like
really,
that
That's
it was
how a
only out
lot
for
of
like
these.
one season before they canceled it too.
yeah,
When
I
I
was really interested in it, and the story was advancing with the MacGuffins they were trying to collect, and they were eventually coming more slowly, and then the series was off the air before they could actually finish the adventure.
So I feel like, and this kind of circles back again. So many of these were vehicles for sell toys, or for Conan, it was like read the comic books, or see these other movies with Arnold Schwarzenegger or whatever. They all have something else pushing them, and I feel like American cartoons kind of fall into that. We're just gonna keep telling this story until the money runs out,
Yeah,
and
the American episodic cartoons are meant to just keep going. They're not
yeah.
meant to tell a story and then finish.
And the first time I started watching some anime, like I don't know that I ever seriously got into it. I enjoy them from time to time. I watched a show and I'm like, oh, that had a beginning, a middle, and an end. And then I saw Full Metal Alchemist Brotherhood, which I found out later was like the actual best ever. And lots of people have that opinion, not just me. And once again, over its like 60 some episodes, everything is building and it all kind of makes sense. And
Hmm.
as a writer, I don't do it professionally, but as someone who enjoys creative writing, one of the things that bugs me is retconning and stuff not lining up. And so many American shows, things could change from episode to episode. And when this told a complete story with an established magic system, which I talked about before and things I love, over this, and I was like, holy cow. Not to be reverse racism or anything, but they're doing this so much better than we are. Even Batman, the animated series, just kind of felt like it could have ended almost at any point because it's just Batman,
Yeah,
and
it's
there's
not about a
always
bigger story. Uh-huh.
right. And so I feel like that's a very good point of some of these ending. I mentioned earlier Jason the Wheeled Warriors. I mentioned that one because as a kid, I loved it so much. But they had thoughts to like wrap everything up after the season ended in like a movie, and they just didn't have the funds for it. So they even knew they were not finishing the story that they had, and that's too bad. And as a kid, you're like, oh, they made a Dragon Warrior cartoon known in Japan as Dragon Quest, and
Hmm.
since I think five, they've all been released in America as Dragon Quest, but I think it was called Dragon Warrior here in the U.S. They made the cartoon, and only the first like 12 or so episodes aired in America, and I guess they thought that that's all anybody would want to watch. And I remember watching the last episode, and the narrator came on and said, "We'll leave it to your imagination. What do you think the main character does next?" And I'm like, I want you to tell me what he does next. What? I'm a kid. I've got an imagination, but I want you to tell me. Which was them acknowledging that they were done. And I found out years later, thanks to, you wait for it, the internet, that Japan actually finished the story.
I had no idea
So,
there
yeah,
was a Dragon Quest cartoon back in the day.
really?
No idea. Like, I was like, he's got to be mistaken, right? No. Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai.
Yeah, and it used music from or riffs on the music from the games, and
Hmm.
yeah, it was. Mike, did you see it?
No, I didn't. That's really neat
And
to hear about.
so get this, you think a bit again about cartoons having a message. In the introduction to the first episode, it turns out that the setting is, while it looks like traditional Dragon Quest, it's medieval, all that sort of stuff, turns out that it's actually post-apocalyptic, and the demon was, spoiler alert for the first 5 seconds of the first episode,
Donald
the
Trump.
demon Baramos or something, um,
Oh, never mind.
who reincarnates from Donald Trump, uh, was actually reborn from all the pollution and filth that people had dumped into the planet.
Oh, get this woke
Throwing
crap out of here.
right from the 80s, yeah. So it turns out,
Oh,
Apparently,
that would be a cool show to potentially redo. Is Captain Planet?
I was wondering if somebody was going to bring it up. But yeah, so pollution plus magic equals demon for Dragon Quest. And then pollution plus greed equals every Captain Planet villain. Oh, but now you could have a villain that's into climate change, and the villain could be, denying that they're really doing it.
so
And this might be too topical.
apparently there was a Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai from 2020 that is on Hulu and maybe Netflix. I don't. This might be Netflix in different countries, but
I'm sorry, I missed the first. What was on Netflix? I missed the first thing you said.
Dragon Quest: The Adventure of Dai from 2020
Oh, it's
is on Hulu and possibly Netflix. You know what? I'm gonna pull it up right now.
Wait, I think that's The Adventure of Dai might be something more recent.
The Adventure of Dai is from 2020 to 2022. I saw another one that said 91. Oh, sorry, it was Dai's Great Adventure was the 91 one. Sorry. Silly me.
Oh, so they kept the same protagonist then.
Looks like it. It might be a remake or it might be Dragon Space. No, not Dragon Ball. Q. Dragon Quest Your Story. Yeah, here it is. Dragon Quest The Adventure of Dai. It is on Netflix and Hulu, it looks like. Huh, how about that? In case you want to watch some of that there, Brian.
I will maybe check it out.
It looks like it's got 101 episodes. Holy crap.
I will check that out when I have more time. I'm on the Dragon Quest Wikipedia page.
Ow.
And it mentions 2 animated series.
Like, just trying to think back to other things that I would have wanted to come back that already did. Like, okay, He-Man came back. There have been infinite iterations of Transformers and Batman and Ninja Turtles. Like, okay, Superman got the one on M.A.S.K. What Ben? What's it called? Like, My Adventures with Superman or something like that. I watched the first season of that. It is brilliant. DuckTales was one that I loved as a kid. It came back. A bunch of the stuff that apparently I had pretty good taste as a kid because, like I said, a bunch of the stuff that I could think of naming off has already had a revival of some sort.
I just real quick before I leave
Did you
this,
find it?
apparently the Legend of the Hero Abel, Dragon Quest Legend of the Hero Abel was the original one and aired from December 2nd, 1989 to April 5th, 1991. It was 43 episodes and only the first 13 were translated into English. So so this was prior to the Dai stuff.
Oh. Yeah, Dai's Great Adventure was from 91 to 92, according to IMDb.
Yes. Abel is the one that I saw before.
Gotcha.
All right. Sorry, I'm not trying to keep going back to that. Was just bugging me. Ancient stuff, stuff that's almost as old as us. That's tough.
Anyway.
But yeah, I think we've mentioned a couple things I haven't thought about in years. Thank you, Dino Writers. But but I think yeah.
Like, did any of you
Can I
guys
ask?
see the new She-Ra?
Yes, watched it with Sam.
It was
It
so
was
good.
great. It was so good. Um, yeah.
Like, Dirk enjoyed the new Voltron, which sadly
Hmm.
nobody can anymore, but
That one
I
I
think they
liked
did a
quite
really
a
good job
bit.
with it.
I feel like the quality varied from season to season, but I liked what they
yeah,
did with the characters.
Mm-hmm.
I never made it past like the first few into season 2 or 3, I think, and I just sort of was like, all right, I get it, I'm done.
There was an episode where they are playing basically D&D with hologram technology, and if you ever play D&D, yeah, it's got a lot of little things like, okay, cool. My favorite part might have been one of the main characters who is the most righteous, like basically I'm the leader type guy, insists on playing a paladin. He's like, because we're really paladins, because that's what the pilots are called. And they're like, do you want to do anything else? He's like, no. And he plays a character 100% straight and boring. And toward the end of the episode, the character dies. And when he rolls a new character, it's the same character, but his twin just happened to be there. And the absolute, like, I'm playing the 100% lawful good because that's all he knows thing was kind of hilarious
Wait,
to
who
me.
was
Other
this?
stuff was, what's that?
Which character was this?
The
Is it
the guy
Shiro?
Shiro, yeah.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. He's the leader. He's got a tragic backstory and he's always serious.
Mm.
So,
Are you Siri Dog?
Yeah, like the last season of it kind of got like they had worked themselves into a corner, and so it kind of did feel like, okay, I can tell we're getting close to jumping the shark,
Oh,
but I mean
excuse me.
they ended it. I mean they knew they were coming to an end, so that they kind of were like, all right, well, we're gonna go out,
Yeah.
yeah, with this
They
one. So
they at least managed to wrap it up. So,
yes.
It was asked in the chat, would a reboot of Dungeons and Dragons work nowadays? And yeah,
Yeah.
anything Dungeons and Dragons, if done by people that care,
Mm-hmm.
could absolutely work these days. Like the movie, I know that like at the time the movie came out, there was a lot of anti Hasbro stuff going along because Hasbro is awful. Because that was when they screwed up the gentleman's agreement thing that they'd always had with players. I forget what the term is because I don't play
Right.
D&D.
I know what you're talking about.
The open game license.
Yeah, there you go.
Mm-hmm. And then lots of people were like, "Oh, okay, if we have to pay you money in order to use your product, then we're gonna move over to something else."
well, it's not just even because people have been paying money to use their product for a while. Think about all the books, but but more of a hey, your ideas you come up with using our system are technically ours, not yours. And I'm
Yeah.
speaking in broad strokes here, but that's kind of the tone. People were like, you created a fantasy system that a set of rules that we are adopting in a myriad of ways to tell our own stories. Our own stories are still our stories. Thank you very much. So much backlash. So
Mm-hmm.
much.
And well deserved backlash.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Like it was horrible, and so a lot of people that like should have gone to see the D&D movie didn't, and that's not the only reason that it crapped out. Like
Yeah.
it's not even a large reason that it crapped out, and didn't do well in the theaters and killed
Yeah.
the D&D license probably forever.
I think we talked about this before, but it released 5 days before the Mario movie.
Yeah.
That was catastrophic.
But having seen it now, like, it's brilliant. And
Yeah.
and it
It's a
really
very
shows,
funny movie. It's a really good movie.
yeah, and it really shows that, people who understand what D&D is, and its purpose, can totally make a show that would work. Like, even the D&D movie, I think we talked about this on something recently, but like,
We
the
did.
D&D movie isn't about people doing a D&D campaign. It takes place entirely in world, but it's about people doing a D&D campaign. It's like you can see the roles.
Yeah. Yeah, we talked about this a little while ago.
Yeah. And I think that a show that either was like the movie and just set in a world, or one that bounces back and forth between a world and the players, would be brilliant. Personally, I saw this once somewhere, and I think that it should be the Muppets. Like,
D&D
everybody
Muppets?
keeps, because of the Christmas Carol and Treasure Island, everybody seems to think that's what the Muppets do, and that's two movies plus the Wizard of Oz that we don't talk about. But that's
Aw.
two movies that it was bad.
Yes, but
Aw. But
Everybody's
that's
allowed to
two
have their
movies out of
guilty
the entire
pleasure.
Muppets thing that were like that. Everything else was an original story. Like,
Mhm.
and so that always bothered. Yeah, and the who's the one human that Ben just asked in the chat. That's not a thing in Muppets movies. Never has been. I don't know why that's become like the cultural thing of, oh, there's one human. No, there's an assload of humans in Muppet movies.
Yeah. I'm thinking of the last one I saw where Kermit had an evil twin, and there were tons of humans in that movie.
Yeah, but like, I think that the humans would be the players. Like, you would get very serious actors to be the players, and then have the Muppets be all of the characters
that'd be good.
uh, in their campaign. And I think that would be brilliant,
I could see that working really well.
because the Muppets already break the fourth wall constantly if they're done properly.
Sure.
So, like, you could easily have like Gonzo's player character look at the camera and go, "Wait, do I know this is happening? Do I know this?"
Yeah.
Like,
I like that.
like, you're not there. You're having sex with a chicken. He's like, "All right."
It's funny because it works.
But I mean, even if you don't do the Muppet thing, like, I think a D&D show is something that would be brilliant and uh, not something that would be overlooked. Again, if done properly.
Yes.
Yeah.
But then that if done properly is the case for literally everything. But with D&D, it feels like it's even more important that you have to do it properly.
No, I agree with you. Yeah. It's too it's there are pitfalls that would be easy to fall into that would tank the interest pretty hard. But hey, look at it this way. In this age of the internet, no matter what you do, at least 50,000 people will love what you're doing, and at least 50,000 people will absolutely hate what you're doing. And then any number of extra people on top of that. But those numbers are almost guaranteed. You could have the best thing in the world, and not 50%, but 50,000 people would be like, "This is trash. It's overrated. It's not nearly edgy enough. It's too edgy. I don't know."
It's too
And then the other
woke.
people would be like, "I don't care what anybody else says. This is brilliant." It doesn't matter how inane it is or how cookie cutter it is or how it's trying to be different for the sake of being different. I love it and I'll always love it. Fight me. And
It's
I'm
got a woman
making.
and a black person and a gay. It's too woke, Brian.
But what if that character was a black gay woman?
No, you
Ooh.
got to spread it out, or else that actor will get all the hate. You got to spread it out across several
Well,
characters.
they'll probably get the hate no matter what.
I mean,
But
that's
yeah,
true.
yeah. And I make fun, and I'm generally always going to be in favor, even if something is objectively bad. If somebody gets enjoyment out of it, then let them have that.
Yeah, you're
I
allowed to like bad stuff.
I absolutely cannot stand the Evil Dead movie. No, no, Evil Dead's great. The House of the Dead movie, which most of which doesn't even take place in a house. But anyway, I that is the worst cinematic experience I've ever had. But maybe somebody is just like, it's my favorite zombie movie. Then I don't want to take anything away from that. I am worried and I feel like I should call your family and make sure you're getting treatment. But
Like,
I,
if that's someone's favorite zombie movie, I'm gonna be like, oh, cool. Here's some really other good zombie movies you should probably watch.
yes, when they make the later Resident Evil movies look like cinematic masterpieces and really well thought out plot lines,
Phew.
that's yeah.
What was that sound?
None.
Dirk, was that your tummy grumbling, or were you grumbling proper?
I was grumbling proper.
What you what you grumbling about there, Grumbly Gus?
Nothing. No.
If I can just take a quick detour,
No.
there are some shows that I wouldn't mind seeing come back that are not animated. And the one I'm going to mention for just a second was half animated and half not. And it was absolutely made to sell toys. And it was Captain Power,
Oh,
the
I
Soldiers of
love
the
Captain
Future.
Power.
Yeah, it was awesome. And it was way ahead of its time. You want to talk about a show that dealt with adult themes that were not like, hardcore pornography, but, lot of people dying. I'm sure I've talked about the show before and how the season finale wrecked me as a kid. And I went to my mom bawling, and she's like, "Oh, that actress is fine." And I'm like, "No, she was the base, and it blew up." It wrecked me as a kid. But yeah, I would like to see that come back, even if it was just animated. Maybe that would work better. Uh, Something being animated is not that's not a bad thing. And this is what I say about like the push to do more like live action stuff is when you draw things, you can have them do literally whatever you can draw. But anyway, you liked Captain Power, Chewie? Did anybody else see it, or just us?
I feel like Mike was too young, and I think
Yeah, I
Dirk
don't
dozed
remember
off.
that.
So Ben never heard of it. And one of the unique things about it, and remember, this was in the day of the VHS and the VCR, but you could watch the show, and it was about soldiers in the future, and a robot AI, basically Skynet, has taken over, and humans are collected. And if they are collected, then they're actually digitized into the computer mainframe.
Or
And the
into the
human
machine, as it was called.
there we go. And it would have animated sections where it would show the pilots flying their futuristic jets around and battling the bad guys. And the aerial battles were a big part of the show. You could also buy a toy jet at your store, and as long as it
Now,
had batteries on it, in
when
it,
Brian says that it had animated sections, it means early CG. They weren't
yes,
they weren't like cartoon animated.
no, check, look it up. They sold in addition to the jets, and you could buy the good guy jets, the bad guy jets. They also sold movies that were just these CGI, and they were built as like training programs. And when a bad guy in the CGI, either in the show or on the tape, fired a projectile at the screen, you could try. I feel like you could try to like move the plane physically out of the way, the one you're holding in
Mhm.
your hand, and you could squeeze the trigger on it to fire back. And while the tape is pre-shot, so it's not going to show anything taking damage, it will give you points, and at the end of the run it will tell you what your points were. So, and this might have been before around the same time as the NES. So we're talking about a show that's also kind of like a video game at the advent of video games, and you bought it, and you could still play again as a kid. You could play with the Jets as a toy without even the thing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Um,
Like I had the
it
white jet with Captain Power in it.
Me too. Me too.
And like the enemy robots and whatnot had these like flashing panels on their chest that you could aim for that
Okay.
were, added in post production.
Yeah.
And when they would shoot, sometimes a shot would go directly at the screen, and I think you that's when you had to move your jet from away from pointing at the screen, or else you would get shot and your little dude would eject.
Yeah.
It
And
was
they
so
actually, if they
cool.
took enough damage, they would fall out. I also had the white jet with Captain Power, and I wanted more, and my parents were like, these things were not cheap, which is one reason why I think that it didn't make it past a single season. So my parents were like, this is the one you're getting. I'm like, hey, that's cool. But that was the one I had too.
But yeah, I highly recommend y'all look it up. Like
Yeah.
the actors were all playing it straight and serious, even though it was a vehicle to sell toys, and they were in this
Yeah.
ridiculous like plastic armor,
Yeah.
and they were going for it. Like it was
They
serious.
it was good, and if you have a little time, either look up the first episode and see if you like it, or even look up the training videos, and you can just sit back and watch it for like 20 minutes just to get a sense of how the CGI worked and what it was like.
Yeah, this was the Sauron that scared me before the Lord of the
Oh
Rings.
yeah,
Sauron
yes,
was
yeah,
the main henchman of the main villain,
yeah. He was
and
like
he
a
was a
mechanical.
completely CGI like.
He was like a silver pterodactyl looking guy.
Yeah, he was a humanoid pterodactyl who was silver metallic, and it was trippy.
The head writer was the guy who later created Babylon 5.
Yeah, no, not what's his name?
J. Michael Straczynski.
Straczynski. There we go. I'm like J.M. Damon. No, no, wrong guy. But yeah, it was really cool. Like I had on VHS the I think it was like a two episodes put together into a movie, and it was called Shattered Past, and it was deep. Like an old friend of one of the main characters got digitized way back, and it was kind of his fault, I think. And then
Mm-hmm.
she gets brought back to go after him, and I escaped from the machine, and then it turns out she was all working for the machine the whole time, and it's a big
Right.
story of betrayal, and you feel it like as a kid.
Yeah. They played it 100% straight. Quick side note, and I know I'm famous for those, but quick side note: if we're not done talking about Captain Power,
Yeah, go for it.
um, Sonic. So Sonic is one where Sonic has continued to have cartoons and Archie comics and other comics and video games. So I don't know if he needs to necessarily come back because I don't think he's gone anywhere. But when I was a kid, there were two Sonic cartoons, and there's one I would love to see more of, and there's one that I wouldn't. And the one that I didn't want to, interestingly enough, Jaleel White voiced Sonic in both of these. So you'd think that they were connected. They really weren't. But in the one I didn't care for so much, it was super goofy. And like every frame, he's eating a chili dog, and Robotnik is just kind of dumb. And that was the one with Grounder and the chicken guy. And the
Yeah.
other one, honestly, what made me think about this is talking about Captain Planet is very like Robotnik took over and like everything is mechanical and he's turning the animals into robots. Like instead of when you play the games and you bust a robot and an animal flies out, no, they're just like their flesh becomes metal sort of thing, digitized except roboticized. So I was having my brain was like, this really sounds like something else too, and it was dark, but it was still a cartoon. It was still for kids, but it was basically it was rebellion. It was kind of like Star Wars, but Sonic for kids, if you can picture that. And that one I wouldn't mind seeing more of. That being said, I know that they've done a bajillion Sonics since then, and I have not watched but like an episode or two of one of them. So anyway,
Yeah.
but I didn't know if you want to say more about Captain Planet, but Captain Power, but I kept feeling like, wait a minute, this feels like Sonic too.
Yeah.
So,
Ben pointed out that in the like the Sonic community or the people who know about this sort of thing, yeah, the one you're talking about is referred to as the Sat-Am because it was the Saturday morning cartoon, whereas the other one
yeah,
was the one that played after school during the weekdays, the goofy one.
yeah.
And yeah,
Sonic,
the Saturday morning one is widely regarded as really good, and the other one is
yeah,
widely regarded as drivel.
yeah. The opening theme for Sonic Saturday Morning is not as good as Cops or I assume M.A.S.K. I'd have to hear it, but it's up there. It's I'm hearing it now in my head, and I'm like, yes. Damn. Oh, they went hard on some of these opening themes, and it is appreciated.
Yeah,
I
they
feel
did.
like when we're done here, I'm gonna have to listen to like just a string of these in a row. I'm sure
Yeah,
there's
you
a
are.
collection.
Hmm.
Dirk, you doing okay? Have has Dirk run out of material? He was going really strong for a while there.
I get the feeling when he grumbled, he actually had dozed off and snored.
No, but like he made several points where I was thinking, oh, I want to say, and he just kept going and going, and I feel like some of this was more concentrated Dirk than we've had in a while. Straight up pure Dirk, no additives.
I think he might have dozed off right now.
Hey, Mike, you still with us?
I'm here.
Good.
Mike, did you doze off?
I don't think so. Not that I'm aware of.
That sounded like a duck.
Yeah, I did that to see if it would wake Dirk up.
Well,
Luckily, the chat couldn't hear that.
yeah. I am being notified if I'm happy to stay with you guys for a little bit, but if we think that we're wrapping this up, then I might go ahead and get going pretty soon. Kind of don't want to leave without saying bye to Dirk, but
That's okay. If we all hang up, then I think the Discord robot would be like, "You've been on this call by yourself," and boot him off. Although I don't know. Oh, there he is.
hey Dirk, you still with us, man?
I'm nodding off.
Yeah, we can tell. We've been
Okay.
talking smack about you for a good couple of minutes.
hmm
We should.
One time, not
Oh,
that long ago, after a show, we did, Mike and I did the post show odds and ends,
Mhm.
and then Mike hung up, and I forgot to, but it didn't boot me out of the call because the whole "you've been on the call alone for so long, we kicked you off." And like an hour later, I pulled up Discord and it was like hang up, and I was like, huh? So I don't know if Discord has stopped doing that, or is mine was broken, or there's a glitch. I don't know. It was weird.
or because you started the call, but
No, I always start the call.
yeah. Okay.
But anyway, Yeah, these were good topics. Thank you to Mycroft and Ben for giving us stuff to talk about.
Yeah.
Um,
I think I'm gonna go ahead and head out unless you guys need me, but I'm sure Chewy's gonna do the usual shout outs and things like that, but I'm gonna go help Carrie with something because I think she's ready to go to bed as well. So
all right, and Dirk should
this
go to
was a
bed because Dirk's already going to bed.
yeah.
Yep.
Have a great night, peoples, guys, gals, the internet, and whatnot. I'll talk to
Radio.
you guys again soon.
All
The
right.
three genders, guys, gals, and the internet.
Yeah.
It's true.
Yep. I'm gonna head on to bed. You guys all have a wonderful evening.
Night, Zerg.
All right. You too.
So, to remind everybody, because as of this recording, it's only 2 weeks away, the Chivos for Charity stream is March 21st, 22nd, 23rd. I'm going from noon to midnight. I'm pretty sure that's what I've decided on. All 3 days. I've got 110 achievements across 62 games that will be on the list, so I don't think I'm gonna run out during the stream. At least if I do, then something is going horribly wrong. I've got, as of right now, there's still a couple more things that might get added, but there are 1,063 games on the list. I buy bundles of a bunch of games, what can I say? So yeah, come give money and get Steam games, or a couple of things that aren't on Steam, like on Origin or on Epic or whatever, but the vast majority are on Steam. And yeah, I've gone into great detail in the past on how this works, so I'm not going to do it again now, but it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm hoping to get Brian and Mike to come by, either together or separate, preferably separately, I think, to keep me from losing my mind. Because I doubt Renee will be much help, because she's like, I don't really want to be on stream. And I'm like, oh. But yeah, I'm going to try to get Bill and or Clues on a call at some point while I'm doing stuff to keep people entertained, because at some point I'm going to run out of steam and be like, I'm going to play this game now, and everybody shut up. Give money, I'm not talking anymore. If you give money, I'll say thank you. But yeah, come hang out on those days, and we'll hang out, and I'll raise lots of money and get lots of achievements and destroy my throat for charity. Yeah, it's for Trans Lifeline again this year, by the way. So, okay. I guess I should do the Patreon thing, huh? Thanks, Mike. I guess I will.
Awesome.
That's patreon.com/themanapool. You know the deal. Thank you to Al, ALK Alters, Andrew Odie, Jake Jansons, Jason Doan, Jason Kaus. A lot of Jasons in here. Casey, Kim Ho, Michael. Don't trust that guy, even though he's not named Jason. Scuzzo, Timu Ellis Haryu, and Violet Moon. Yay. But I've got all of the games installed. I've got the picker wheel thing that I'm going to use to pick the achievements, the random thing. I've got that all set up. Installing the games took several hours. So I'm glad I went ahead and got on that. And I still have plenty of room on my hard drive. I thought hard drive space would be a problem, but Not even close. I could like install Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and still have plenty of room, which is surprising. Okay, maybe not plenty of room because that's like 150 gigs or something by itself, but still have a good amount of room. But yeah, March 21, 22, 23, please come hang out. Give money to a good cause. Get you some free games. Everybody gets one if you donate $10, and you probably get more if you hang out for a while, because I'm going to do giveaways every hour, every $100, and every achievement. Ooh. And my throat just gave out. So, hey Mike, what's up with you for the end of the show thing?
For the end of the show thing, I've been seeing a lot of things in my Facebook feed about like movies coming back to, like old movies coming back to theaters for special runs. I really like that trend. It gives an opportunity to see some neat things, even some things that I haven't seen before. Like I've seen ads for a Vampire Hunter D movie that's coming around again. I've never seen it. I don't know if I will go out and see that. But...
Ooh, me and Renee are gonna go.
Oh, cool. I've also seen ones for Char's Counterattack. That's a Mobile Suit Gundam movie. And I just saw something today about 50th anniversary showings for Monty Python's The Quest for the Holy Grail.
I don't know if I could watch that in a theater, just because of the audience.
I did not think of that. Oh, gosh.
My bad. Didn't mean to harsh your buzz there, but
no, I mean, I would have felt worse if I had made it to the theater and been like, "Oh my gosh."
my bad.
That's okay.
Ow.
That was my one.
Yeah, Renee mentioned she wanted to go see Vampire Hunter D in theaters, and I was like, hell yeah. She's like, it's really stupid, but I love it. I'm like, yeah, it is. Me too. Yes, it is. Before anyone complains, the first one was really dumb. Like, it was from the 80s. Anyway, it was good, but it was kind of dumb. Oh, we're gonna get hate. I'm gonna get hate for that. That's fine. Bring it. I fear not your backlash. What have I got going on? I'm almost done with Yakuza 0, Mike. Well, I'm almost done with the stuff that's easy to do, like the story and all of the side quests. What's left is completion.
Nice.
I missed an achievement while I was playing that is very missable. I tried to get it and I missed. So I actually just added that to the list. Because that would be a fun one to try to get on stream. I have to shoot a guy.
Oh.
A specific guy.
In a particular way.
Yeah, there's a highway chase where story has happened and now a bunch of Yakuza are out to kill you. And the other dude in the car takes over driving after the guy driving the cab gets shot in the face, and he throws us a gun and is like, hold him off. And there's this one guy who drives up, goes blam blam, and then is gone, and you have to shoot him. And I got like 2 hits on him, and then he was gone. And I went, okay, I'm gonna finish him off when he comes back. He doesn't come back, Mike.
Oh.
And then, but that whole section is so long and then there's like a big boss fight, and then you can save. And I was like, I'll go back and do that later. As long as I don't save over this save, I'll be fine. And I haven't yet, so when I was compiling the list, I was like, oh, dude, I can actually put Yakuza 0 on here because of the achievements I have left are all like do a bunch of completion stuff that will take way longer than I care to try to do on a charity stream, or start the game over and run through a couple of chapters to get earlier achievements that you missed. And I went, oh. Or just reload this save from the end of chapter 13 and shoot that one guy. And I'm like, yes. But the description of the achievement is kill the Yakuza with the afro on the highway. And I was like, what? And then partway through that, there's a guy with an afro hanging out of the car shooting at you. And I was like, oh, okay. Suddenly it all makes sense. There was another one, Mike, that I thought I had missed it because the description was like, feel the full force of Reina's attack. And I was like, huh? And it turns out I hadn't missed it yet. It was in chapter 14. And you have to miss a quick time event, Mike.
Oh.
It was like, if you don't push a button, then during this fight, the bartender will haul off and slam you in the head with a bottle, and you'll get the achievement. And I went, oh no, how will I know when that happens? And then it's very obvious when it happens. And the quick time event is so slow. It pops up, it goes like, it gives you like a little countdown that, or like the X appears on the screen, and there's like a outline around it that disappears. And for a bunch of these, it's like, you missed it. But this one is like, you missed it. And I was like, because the whole time I'm like fighting against my instinct to push the button.
Right. That's funny.
And then she hauls off and slams you in the face with the bottle, and it takes off like this teeny little bit of health. And I was like, really? And then immediately after that, she tries to throw like a medicine bottle, like a healing item, to the guy you're fighting. Mm-hmm. And there's a quick time event to grab it out of midair. And that one is like, but I got it because I was so keyed up from trying not to press it on the last one. As soon as it popped up, I didn't even think. It's a blam, got it. Ha! Give me that. It's like, this game is messing with my gamer instincts, man. Anyway. But that's what I've been doing, is playing Yakuza 0 and getting all of this charity stream stuff. I've written on my whiteboard again. Whoops. The last thing that was written on my whiteboard, Mike, was my checklist for stuff for last year. I couldn't get it to wipe off. Renee went and grabbed me some rubbing alcohol, and it came off. That's how long it's been sitting on here for a year.
Was there anything left over from last year that still needed doing?
Well, no, because I did the stream last year.
Okay.
Are you implying that I would do something half-assed, Mike? How absolutely dare you for knowing me that well? Screw you.
I didn't know if you were like erasing things as you completed them.
Oh no, I was just crossing them off. So I still need to make the campaign on Tiltify, but that doesn't take very long.
Right.
I get the stream overlay set up, which I think I still have the stream overlay from last year. So all I've got to do is change what it links to once I make the campaign. And I've got to set up... I got to remember what site I was using to raffle the games. Because for some reason I don't have that bookmarked. So I got to figure out what that was. And then I need to make a promo image again and a promo video. just where I explain how everything works again in its own contained video for people to share. So, and I've got to get the public face of the spreadsheet set up, because what I've been working on is the back end one where all the information goes. But the public facing one is the one that only has the information that the people need.
Uh-huh.
I got to remember how to do that. Luckily, I still have it, so I just need to look at the code and be like, oh yeah, that's how that works. The code, the one cell that copies everything. Anyway. Right, well. Are we done, Mike? Are you done?
Yes, I think so.
Yeah, we already lost those other two dorks. And I think I accidentally might have grabbed an AI-generated Lego image for the background.
Uh-oh.
Like, Ben was making fun of some of the bricks on here. And now as I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, this might not have been legit. So apologies for that if anyone's watching the video version of this.
A rectangle with 7 posts on top.
No, they all look like they have an even number, but some of them are just shaped a little weird. And there's a green one there right under my name that I don't know what the hell's going on. Maybe these aren't Lego. Maybe these are, Pego or something. Anyway. Right. So this has been another Dorks Just Chatting. I hope everyone enjoyed the building things and old cartoons and whatnot that we just spent way too long talking about. And let us know a show that you would want to bring back, or how you feel about building things. Give us appropriate feedback, appropriate to the topic of the episode. And with that, we'll be done. So thank you all so very much for joining us, and go listen to the M.A.S.K theme song and then thank me. You're welcome.